I don't know, Jeff, has it? I must have missed that.
Welcome back to Commentary Box Podcast. My name's Aj. Today I have Ajay and Jeeshan. How are you guys?
Great, thanks.
Good to be here.
It's good to hear. And obviously, today we're here to have a little chat about the F1 starting in 2 days' time. I mean, you could say the season's already started, but yeah, properly starting in a few days. And yeah, it's a great time to talk about it, really, isn't it? But yeah, just so the listeners can get to know a bit more about, you know, what kind of F1 fans you really are. Let me know who your favourite driver is.
Jeeshan, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Show the t-shirt to everybody.
Yeah, okay. This will probably give a bit of an indicator about my favourite driver, but I'm Jeeshan. I've been an F1 fan since 2000, when I was like 3 years old and struggling to sleep.
Hi, I'm Christy, and I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober 118 days.
They put it on ITV one day, and then magic was made. But yeah, I've been following the sport for more than 20 years now. My favourite driver of the current grid is Fernando Alonso, maybe because of the nostalgia attached. He was there when I was a kid. He's still there now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't start watching it at 3 like Jeeshan. I started slightly later, at like the age of 8, I would say. That first Schumacher-Alonso season, world title one. That's what I remember. I have fond memories of like a Brundle on ITV. And yeah, my favourite driver, as you might be able to tell by my jacket, is Pierre Gasly from Scuderia AlphaTauri. Yeah. I haven't always been an AlphaTauri fan. I'm a recent convert. I used to be a Ferrari guy. Grew up being a Ferrari guy. There was a time when I worshipped Alonso, much like Jeeshan does now. Alonso left. I stayed with Ferrari. I was a Vettel guy. I still am a Vettel guy, kind of. But yeah, Ferrari's shocking treatment of Vettel over the years. Yeah, that was the final straw for me. The fact that they were unable to deliver every season despite having set the expectations to be so high. I just felt it was time for a change, and then I came across Pierre Gasly struggling after being dropped by Red Bull, and yeah, I just started rooting for him. He's a driver of tremendous ability, and he just kind of needed to catch a break, and he's gone back to AlphaTauri, and he's kind of turned his racing career around, really. I mean, he was arguably the best driver in the grid last year. And yeah, I'm really excited for what the season holds going forward. And so yeah, you can definitely call me a Gasly stan, would be appropriate.
Fair. Yeah, I've heard a lot from you about Pierre Gasly. But yeah, again, I'm also a Vettel fan. But I'd say my favourite driver at the moment is Daniel Ricciardo.
Daniel Ricciardo's a good pick. Everybody loves Danny Rick. You can't hate him.
You can't, no, but I guess he hasn't got a title to prove it yet, has he?
No.
So yeah, how about your favourite track for the season?
Ooh.
I know mine.
Go on, then.
Do you want to go ahead?
It's got to be Montreal. It's got to be Montreal. Delivers like the best race every season, no matter what. It is always a good race, right? Mm-hmm. It's exciting. You've got the long back straight, right? You got the Wall of Champions. You got the unpredictable weather. I mean that Jenson Button win at Montreal that's like one of the best races I think I recall enjoying. Alongside Monza of last year, of course, which was just... Yeah. But yeah, I would say Montreal. Montreal would be my favourite track, I guess. I'm not massive on Silverstone, despite it being like the home thing.
Me neither.
I feel like, like every year when it's just like raining. Like, I feel like there was just a period of years when it just rained like throughout like every British summer, and like Silverstone would just be ruined the whole weekend. But yeah,
How about you, Jeeshan? Sorry.
I suppose I'll be really cliche and sort of follow up from the outfit and from my own personal experience and explain for your followers who aren't aware that I've actually been fortunate enough to attend a Grand Prix once. I went to the 2013 Italian Grand Prix, and just from that experience
can
alone,
we just put a disclaimer out there that Jeeshan did actually miss school for this?
I missed a half morning on Monday, right? Because the flight was at like 6 a.m. and by the time I got home, I was really tired. But I'd say Monza. Monza is definitely like a favorite track overall. Not just because it's a really high-speed circuit. You know, it's got traditionally one of the longest straights on the calendar, but also it's basically like a Ferrari festival. You know, all the Italians love it. They all go there to root for Ferrari. They don't care about anyone else. So you go there if you happen to be rooting for a Ferrari driver at the time. You know, it's amazing because you just feel like you're part of this weird dysfunctional family who are all like rooting for whoever it is that's driving there. But generally speaking, I love all the high speed circuits, you know. So there's Monza, you know, Silverstone, Hockenheim, and the old Hockenheim in Germany. Plenty of good circuits at the moment. I think last year, for anyone who was following F1 last year, there were lots of really good circuits that we might not have normally seen.
Yeah.
There was like Mugello and Portimao in Portugal. So yeah, anything high speed, but Monza's my pick.
Jeeshan, does that mean that Saudi Arabia will be one of your favorite tracks now to come?
No comment. Not until I at least not until I at least see the. But there's a whole podcast episode in that. All right.
Well, yeah, there is. But Monza's definitely a good shout. For me personally, maybe not for the races, but the actual track and the location, Spa in Belgium. I just find it amazing how it's in the middle of a forest. Like, it just intrigues me. And finally, your favourite moment or memory from Formula One.
Ooh. Oh my. AJ, you're gonna have to go ahead and because I got to think about this.
Yeah, okay. I got two. Jeeshan, you'd be able to remind me of the year, but one might be that Alonso victory in Valencia from 11th on the grid.
2012. Yeah.
That was pretty special. I already referenced Button in Canada. That was pretty special, and then Gasly last year. I'd say those are top three. Had the result been different in 2008 and Massa won the title, that would have been up there. But you know, Tim McLoughlin really just couldn't deliver for us on that day, could he? With the dry tires.
I think I've got mine now. There was quite a few that were just riff-raffing around my head because there's just so many races, and obviously it's like asking to pick a favorite child or something. But I think the memory.
The kids, man.
I think the memory I'll go for. On a serious note, I think the memory I'll go for is the 2006 Italian Grand Prix. And for people who aren't aware, that was Schumacher's final win at Monza. It was also the race where he announced his retirement. So a lot of contrasting emotions, right? He managed to, at the time, I mean, despite what I say about Alonso now, because I loved Schumacher so much as a kid, I was vehemently rooting against Alonso. And in that race, Alonso's engine blew up and his championship lead just completely evaporated. Schumacher won the race in front of the Ferrari fans. Then he announced his retirement, and it was just I felt like it was a really strong message to send. There were a few races left that season, but for that brief moment, I thought he was going to win everything again. But a great race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, some great moments there, truly. But obviously, as I am not just a Formula One podcast, but sports in general. I know I've asked AJ this one before when he's appeared on the podcast before. So I'll ask you this, Jeeshan. Away from F1, your bucket list event to go to?
Ooh. Right. That's tough. I'd say live football is obviously up there. It's, again, maybe a cliche answer, but I've always wanted to go to an international tournament, and hopefully this summer I'll actually be able to, because back in 2019 I got tickets to see the Euros, and it's just been crazy ever since, right? You know, it's just like hanging in the balance about whether I actually will or not. But
Which game do you have?
so I have tickets for one of the semi-finals, and it's the semi-final where if England are lucky enough to actually make it, I'll be in that semi-final. And I also have a round of 16 game from Group A and Group B.
Nice.
So the winner of Group A will play like the runner-up of Group B. But
Yeah,
generally speaking,
I'm gutted. I'm gutted because I had tickets to a group game between Portugal and France. And that would have been a great game to go to. Unfortunately,
where was it located? Or...
in Budapest.
Right. Okay.
So would have been a decent little week trip, but hey ho. So yeah, we can move on to what we're here to talk about, which is the F1, the 2021 season. And so I thought, what better way? We've had a fair few changes this year in driver lineups. I believe only 3 teams have remained the same. So, yeah, why don't we just have a little quick chat about each team, or some of the top teams. We can start off with Mercedes, and Hamilton and Bottas remain there. What do you guys think about that? And them two?
It's just going to be the same story as we've seen for the last few years, ever since Rosberg decided to retire. Obviously, Drive to Survive came out last Friday. I watched the Bottas interview, episode. I saw a lot more of him than I wanted. Obviously, you know what I'm referencing here. And
unfortunately,
I felt sorry for him because, his victory at the Russian Grand Prix, it just seemed like the team just weren't there for him like they are for Hamilton. But at the same time, and Jeeshan will know this very much, so I hate Bottas. He is wasting a perfectly good seat. But that seat could go to any other driver. Honestly, Pierre Gasly should be in that seat. In my mind, George Russell should be in that seat, right?
Yeah.
Right. Bottas is a capable deputy. He is there to help Mercedes win the Constructors' title. That's it. Hamilton is going to... If anybody's winning the title for the Mercedes team, it's Lewis Hamilton. And Lewis Hamilton would rather no one from the Mercedes team win that title than his teammate win it.
Yeah. So yeah, while we go through these teams, how about we sort of give who we reckon is going to come out on top?
Sure.
So,
Hamilton. I could put any current and future earnings I have to my name. I will put that on Hamilton because I'm that confident.
I'll withdraw my life savings and put them all on Hamilton. I mean, anyone who's followed the sport in the last 3 or 4 years, as AJ mentioned, ever since Nico Rosberg retired, they would have been treated to not only Mercedes dominance but Hamilton dominance.
Yeah.
I mean, Valtteri Bottas had a very unspectacular career at Williams, so I think it took a few people by surprise when he got the second driver's seat at Mercedes, which is the best car on the grid. If I'm being honest, it might sound harsh, but he hasn't lived up to any kind of reputation. He isn't going to challenge Hamilton. We all know the story by now. He's there to get a couple of wins a year when Hamilton drops out, and then support the team in the constructors. But I think for a lot of the fans, that's not good enough. You want to see the best drivers in the best car. And ideally, Bottas leaves at the end of this season and they bring someone else in. But, who knows?
Yeah, Bottas and Hamilton are out of contract at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're likely to see Bottas not regaining his seat for Mercedes. I reckon it's probably his last year in F1. Just because he hasn't been that great.
Yeah, I don't think first of all, I don't think Mercedes is going to renew his contract. And secondly, it makes no sense for Bottas to then go, okay, Mercedes have given up on me and they are the main, that's the main way to win a championship. Let me go do a Kimi Räikkönen and go race for Alfa Romeo or something. Just because I want to. I think he'll just kind of give up on it. But you never know, maybe he'll do a Nico Rosberg and he'll go out on a high.
I could see him going back to Williams. I'm not sure why. Maybe just for the sake of he has a good relationship there. when he was there, the team was competitive. So who knows if they can do well this year, he could maybe help them in future. But yeah, I don't see him lasting at Mercedes. No.
Well, we can move on to the next team in the grid, and Red Bull have brought in Sergio Perez alongside Verstappen, who was already there. I feel like that's going to be a very strong team if they can get the car up to scratch. What do you guys think?
Car looks great so far. And in testing, I mean, Mercedes have done their usual trick of what they used to do to Ferrari when they go, wow, Ferrari looks so quick in testing. How will we keep up with Ferrari? Only to go to like the first weekend at Albert Park and just blitz Ferrari. And they just like really turn it to another level. But they say that they think Red Bull have them beat at the moment, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, I think Max. I mean, I don't personally like Max as a person, but as a driver, he's fantastic. And I mean, his fans adore him. I'm really happy to see Perez there. As part of my love for Pierre Gasly, I hate Alexander Albon, and I don't think he's a particularly good driver anyway. Once you remove my relationship to Gasly, but yeah, really happy to see Perez there. He was at McLaren a few years ago. It didn't really work out, but he finally got that race win last year after waiting so long. And yeah, he really just like drove fantastically well. I think he's really good on his tyres. It's been like one of his biggest traits. Yeah. And so it'll be really interesting to see if he can hold on to Max. But if that car is good, maybe Checo can notch some more career victories.
Yeah, I mean, the story of testing so far is basically Red Bull have been the best team, and there's no doubt about it, because where Mercedes might have been able to match them performance-wise, reliability, they've just not been on it at all. And Red Bull's package looks quick, reliable, and they've got two quality drivers. So they're definitely, in my opinion, the team to watch out for this season, because this could be, and obviously I'd say take it with a pinch of salt for now, because Mercedes always have a habit of turning it up when the actual racing starts, but I think this could be one of the more competitive seasons of the turbo era, you know. We've had a couple of seasons where Ferrari were challenging Mercedes. I think it'll be Red Bull's time now to actually put in a proper shift, and maybe Max, I reckon, will challenge for the title.
I'll stop you there, Jeeshan, because we'll have a little chat about that later. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Red Bull are quite strong, and hopefully they do challenge a bit more than they did last season. So yeah, moving on. McLaren also brought in a new face in Daniel Ricciardo alongside Lando Norris. I do think this is another strong seat pair. Do you think it was the right move for Daniel Ricciardo to move to McLaren after only 2 years with Renault?
Yeah, I do. He obviously interviewed for the Ferrari seat first. They went with Carlos Sainz, and he decided to jump ship to McLaren. McLaren looked good last year, really improved over the last few years. They've looked good in testing. I think the partnership of Danny Rick and Lando is just like probably the funnest pairing on the grid. They're two really great personalities. I think Ricciardo could bring a lot to the team, and yeah, I'm really excited for the resurgence of McLaren. Hopefully he's up there fighting with the big boys.
I've got really mixed feelings about whether it was the right decision for Daniel Ricciardo, purely because he was previously at a factory team, Renault, and a factory team is when the team produces their own engines. They're basically not a customer team, they answer to themselves. And in that sense, there's no worry about preferential treatment or worse treatment if you're like a team that's receiving engines from someone else. And, Renault, they're now Alpine, but they still have that substantial budget. They're still in it for the long haul. And with new regulations coming up soon, you do wonder if maybe Ricciardo could have stuck it out for the long haul, tried to maybe be with a team who could be in a good position for next season. For this season, though, I'd say, like AJ mentioned, McLaren have a record of having a good package, and they now have, more importantly, the Mercedes engine as well. So they previously were using Renault engines last season. They now have what's seen as the best engine on the grid, and it kind of reflected in their testing pace as well. They've been quite quick. I think for Ricardo specifically, I think McLaren gives him the opportunity to maybe win a couple of races this season. It might be, kind of luck determined because, again, they look like a couple of faster cars than McLaren. But they look competitive and they look strong. And I think they've got a good driver lineup as well. So I think there'll be, a very strong midfield team capable of challenging for podiums and maybe even the win as well.
Yeah, who do you think's sort of the more dynamic of the two drivers? Because they're both quite dynamic, aren't they?
It's got to be Danny Rick.
They're very bold though. They're both bold drivers, aren't they?
Yeah,
they'll take things on.
Right, but Danny Rick has made his name with the late braking.
Yeah.
That's Danny Rick down to a T. Nice lunge, perfectly timed. Yeah.
What I'll say is, Lando is obviously young and energetic, and he's brought a whole bunch of new fans to the sport with his streaming and his stuff on Twitch. But just Daniel Ricciardo's in his prime years. This is the time for him to try and push for a championship. So I'd say he's the stronger of the two, more dynamic.
Well, do you reckon McLaren can challenge for a championship?
Not this season. I think they can challenge for wins, which is a step up on last season because obviously they have a good engine now. I just think that when Mercedes fix their gremlins, they'll be behind them, and I think they'll be behind Red Bull. So, but we'll see. They could surprise us all. I think they've got all the tools for it. It's just a question of how much progress have they made.
Yeah. Yeah, well, another team sort of in that midfield battle looking to bounce back from last year is Ferrari. And as AJ mentioned, they've picked up Carlos Sainz along with Leclerc. Another solid driver partnership. But do you reckon they can bounce back?
I really don't know. Carlos, very likable guy, good driver. Had some really good performances last year. Monza came second, very close to that victory. I don't know. The issue last year wasn't just the engine; it was the aero package was a mess as well. They've got 2 tokens to use over summer. I think they used both on the engine because of that ruling, which basically took away all their power from the FIA 2 seasons ago. Ferrari, they'll bounce back. They won't be as bad as how they struggled at some power tracks last year, at Spa. I just remember Charles Leclerc started quite well. He qualified exceptionally well, and then just throughout the race, he's just been overtaken by everyone down the straight. I think they'll find it tough. Midfield runner, similar to what McLaren were last year, I guess. But yeah. Not back to their usual form that we expect from the team with the biggest budget.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with AJ, especially about that McLaren comment. I think that's where they'll end up. Like AJ already mentioned, they had this situation where they had a really powerful engine, and then it was found to be using illegal fuel practices, and that made them lose so much pace last season. I think they'll bounce back a bit this season, but even though they have a strong driver lineup, what's interesting is there's rumours that they have the most powerful engine on the grid again now, this season. So that's a real wild card because apparently the aerodynamic package isn't good, but the engine is. So where does that leave them? It's kind of hard to predict. So I think Ferrari are the biggest anything goes, they could be right up there again, or they could be, crap as usual now, but it's really tough for me to make a call about them.
Yeah, exactly what both of you said. Ferrari, sort of, I don't see them bouncing back as such anywhere near to where they were a couple of years ago or beyond that. I reckon it will probably take them another 2 years, a year or two, before they're even sort of hinting towards that form and that quality. Moving on to a team that had a very quick speed last year they were formerly Racing Point, now Aston Martin, and they've gone and picked up Vettel along with Lance Stroll. Now, I agree with AJ in the fact that Ferrari mistreated Vettel a bit. I mean, they didn't get the best out of him there. But do you reckon Aston Martin can get the great Seb Vettel back?
I think with Vettel, everything's about confidence. I think Seb thrives off like the relationship with someone. Like we've seen like how close Christian Horner and Max have become over the years, right? That's what him and Vettel had, and Vettel was fantastic under him. And Horner, as we've seen, likes to give preferential treatment to like their main driver. So obviously in the Seb years, Webber was kind of down in his luck in that department. But yeah, Seb showed flashes of brilliance last year. The podium in Turkey and the wet conditions, right? That was really good. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, I'm like, even if like objectively I was able to say that Vettel won't bounce back, I'd still be rooting for him 100% because I've grown up with like I grew up hating Sebastian Vettel when he was in that Red Bull as a Ferrari fan, and I've come to love him. He's just such a great guy. So really rooting for him. Lance Stroll, he's improved, but I don't think Lance Stroll's good enough. He's still driving as the son of a billionaire. In Turkey, he threw that away. Monza, he threw it away off that restart. So yeah, I don't know if Lance Stroll's quick, but he's not entirely consistent. But I'm looking forward to that car, and I mean, it looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick point on that, Lance Stroll. I don't think he deserves a seat in the F1. Yeah, like, I don't think he's good enough at the moment, and there may be better drivers than him. Obviously, as you said, Lawrence Stroll's son.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a...
We have to watch Nikita Mazepin this year as well, don't we? So, money talks. It's F1. Money talks.
Yeah,
I have a bit
as
of a...
Vettel and Hamilton said, it's cash is king.
Yeah, cash is king. Exactly.
I was going to say, I have like a bit of a hot take actually about Aston Martin and about Seb, because there's been a few questions about Seb purely because anytime he's had sort of a younger teammate, again, who's more in their prime years, you know, over the last half decade now or more, he's actually been outperformed by them. I remember when Daniel Ricciardo went to Red Bull in 2014, and he, like, there's no way to, like, he just absolutely trounced Vettel. He got 3 wins to Vettel's none. Vettel just didn't look happy at all. He obviously went to Ferrari and had some good times with Kimi Räikkönen, his teammate, but then Charles Leclerc came in and again has sort of outpaced Seb. I think we'll see a better version of Sebastian at Aston Martin. I think the way he likes to set up a car with sort of lots of front end grip, likes to qualify high up and then not have to worry about overtaking during the race, but rather sort of leading from the front. I think the Aston Martin is a good fit for him, especially because they have the Mercedes engine still. They'll be based off the previous year's Mercedes again, maybe less so, but they'll have a quick package. What I think will happen is I think Lance Stroll is quick but inconsistent, and I think it'll be very tight between those two, tighter than people sort of anticipate. Because like you mentioned, Arj, like, you know, Stroll is a bit of like a daddy's boy. He's in there because of his money. Yeah. But he has shown speed as well. I think what I'll say is I think Stroll might actually outqualify Sebastian Vettel, but Sebastian Vettel will be ahead in the championship. That's my prediction. Someone has to like jot this down because I could be getting embarrassed in 12 months' time, right? When
I will be clipping this on the 12th of December.
Please do though, because I genuinely, like, I'm really interested to see how Seb does, just because like this will be like a big sort of test, you know. He's had 2 young drivers who've beaten him. Will Lance be the third, or is it the case that but
I mean, it's awfully kind to put Lance in Danny's and Charles' company, isn't it?
That's true as well.
But I do think he deserves a seat, Arj. Lance looks good in the wet weather. Like he's always up there in the wet. I mean, he was on pole, wasn't he, in Turkey? So in the rain. So I mean, he's got some speed. He just needs to improve, but that will happen with time. But it's really good to see that Lawrence Stroll is committed to bankrolling this team, and I mean, I don't really mind as long as we've got another competitive car on the grid. I'm all for it.
Okay,
It's good
so
to
then
see that
who's
racing
winning
green
out of
back.
those two? Yeah, I mean, who's winning out of those two then?
Vettel. There's no way in hell I'd like. Oh, you could be going up against Vettel, and you could have all the talent in the world. I'd still pick Vettel.
Yeah.
I just have to support my boy. Not that I don't want to support you, but Sebastian has to.
Oh no, I picked Vettel over me as well. So yeah.
I was just gonna say, I
Go
think
for it,
Lance will probably outqualify Seb, but then Seb will outrace him. You know, that's my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you can say Seb in that sense.
Yeah. Well, moving over to AJ's little team there, AlphaTauri.
I would like you to take Little away. We were only like one of 4 teams last year to win a title, to win a race.
Yeah. But what do you make of Tsunoda coming in?
Oh, he looks great. He was flawless through testing. Didn't put a foot wrong. Looked really good. Looked really comfortable. I mean, people already ask you Pierre's fantastic, but could Yuki like really challenge him? And people I don't know if he'll beat him, but like he's really going to give him a good challenge, and he looks really good. I mean, I'm just off like testing alone. I think he'd go into that team into Red Bull once Perez is done. He's more likely to anyway than Albon. I think he looked really good. So, I mean, the future is bright. With him alongside Pierre, who's obviously enjoying this resurgence. It's going to be a really good year. The car looks quite good. I feel that that's always been like an AlphaTauri Toro Rosso MO has been like comfortable mid-table car, and they really fight. They got some good drivers, and they really put on it. They try their hardest each weekend, and hopefully we can have some more good races and maybe another race win or two.
Mm-hmm.
I think AlphaTauri might fall back a bit in the grid this season, and not because of any fault of their own. I think they have an even better driver lineup than last season. I think they've still probably got a good aerodynamic package. I just think that, like, as a sort of natural consequence of development, Ferrari aren't going to stand for where they were last season. I think McLaren will improve. I think we'll go into them later, but Alpine will improve as well. So I think
I reckon they'll finish above them.
You think
They'll finish above Alpine.
That's a bold. I can't say I agree with you there. But
write that down right now. You've made your bold statement about Seb. This is me.
Okay, fine. But I do like everything about them. Like you mentioned, Yuki Tsunoda. He was really good in Formula 2 last season. I did catch a couple of races, especially towards the end of the season. He's really bold. Like, he knows how to make overtakes. He's quick. So I think both drivers are ones to watch for the future. I'd like Pierre Gasly to move to a top team after the end of this season. But yeah, I do think they'll sort of be getting sort of regular 8th, 9th, 7th places, and maybe, if there are retirements, pushing up further up the grid. But I think they're like a lower midfield team now,
Mm-hmm. Well, talking about Alpine, Esteban, Ocon, and Fernando Alonso.
My boy.
Jeeshan's a big fan. Alonso is now, I believe, 39. Can he still do it?
Yes,
I'll give you
absolutely.
a stat before you. I'll give you a stat, right? So, I believe from testing, if you removed, so his time was actually in the top 10. I think he finished P10. But if you took away the impact of tires and fueling, apparently he was the quickest driver.
Yeah, this is really interesting because Sky Sports F1 did a whole segment on this. They reckon, and obviously it fluctuates depending on development. They reckon Alpine could be as high up as second or third quickest on the grid, which is really encouraging. Like, they put up some really good times, and the most amazing thing was they didn't use the fastest tires. They didn't use the sort of the quickest grip. So that sort of raises a question of where they are on the grid. And obviously, because
sandbagging is back,
they've got my favourite driver, so I'd love for them to be the best team or whatever. But I'll probably be a little bit more conservative and say I reckon they can probably push for third best team this season. I think there'll be like an almighty scrap between McLaren, Ferrari, and these guys for who will be like the best of the rest after Mercedes and Red Bull. And I honestly think Alpine, if they play their cards right and if they're as good as some people expect, I reckon they'll be able to challenge for race victories and podiums as a minimum. They've got a good enough driver pairing for it anyway.
Do you think Esteban Ocon is good enough to win a race?
It's tough because I think when he was at Racing Point and Force India back in the day, like a few seasons ago, before he sort of got kicked off the grid, I think most people would have said yes. But then at Renault for the past couple of seasons, or last season, he was kind of underwhelming compared to Ricciardo. Saying that, he still managed to get second place at, I think it was the Russian Grand Prix, so it's tough to say
exactly that,
where...
though. No, exactly that. I think he can get a podium, maybe top 5, top 7, but I don't see him winning races or a race at all over the season.
He may have come second in the second Bahrain race behind Paris.
That was probably, it was that one.
Yeah.
The oval track.
Yeah,
which is there were quite a few. There was quite a few factors affecting that race, with retirements and stuff. But
a lot.
Credit to.
Like you said, his reputation was quite strong a few years ago. He was kind of slow to kind of get back up to speed with everything last year, but I mean he did improve as the season went on. So is he still a part of he is a part of the Mercedes Young Driver program, right?
No, I think they let him go in order for him to go to Renault, but I could be wrong on that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Because I'm saying if he is, or
I thought he was...
thanks to those old links, this could be a big season for him with 2 drivers out of contention at Mercedes next year, especially if Hamilton retires.
Yeah.
Then he could have a ticket to the big time.
He could. Well, yeah. The last few teams, I don't really see much value in talking about them because. What do you guys think?
I will say Williams will not be at the back this season.
Do you think not?
No.
Who do you reckon?
Haas will be at the back.
They're awful.
I mean, I'm really conflicted about Haas just because they've got Mick Schumacher, obviously the son of Michael. So I want him to do well, but at the same time, I don't like Haas. They've got Mazepin, the sort of Russian billionaire's son, who's already very controversial for a lot of different reasons.
See, the thing with Mick Schumacher, I don't think he can live off of his dad's name. I think he has to establish his own sort of class within Formula One first.
I think
before.
I think the encouraging thing for him though is that he's Formula 2 champion, and he was only 19 years of age or 20. So I think he probably on merit can still say over at least a few drivers on the grid that he deserves to be here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you've watched the full season of Drive to Survive, but Gunter, the Haas team manager, he was saying that the only reason he's brought in, or not the only, but one of the reasons he's brought in Mick Schumacher is the sort of sponsorship funding potential behind it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bigger factor with Mazepin. I mean, I think a lot of people are really excited to see Michael. I really would have liked if Callum Ilott got a chance to race. I mean, I think he's reserve driver now, isn't he, at Ferrari? Perhaps he's reserve driver somewhere.
AlphaTauri.
No. Who's that? No, I don't think he's at AlphaTauri. I think it might be Ferrari. Danny Kvyat's a reserve driver somewhere as well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Mazepin. Not the greatest start to F1. What he did was I wouldn't have him racing, but cash is king. So
yeah.
I think Williams. I think George Russell's looked good last year. I mean, on the Bottas thing, right? Bottas, that we spoke about before. That race weekend when Perez won. Yeah, I thought George Russell raced so much better than Bottas, and I think that was the writing on the wall for Bottas, but also the start of George Russell's career now moving forward. I think at the end of the season he'll make that move. So I just hope he can continue to put in some good performances.
I agree. I think Williams might improve. I'm not sure about whether they'll escape the back of the grid or not, but it remains to be seen,
100%. I mean, I still don't see them sort of challenging for even the sort of mid-table teams.
Yeah.
I still think they'll be bottom 2, bottom 3.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But all
I
you
think
need is
that-
one crazy race weekend and you can scrape a
you
point.
do, yeah.
And it makes
Yeah.
a world of difference for the team, doesn't it?
Yeah. Saying that though, I think there is like an established bottom 3 even for this season. I think Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Haas are like the 3 teams that you just don't expect will be, challenging anytime soon.
No, definitely not.
I hope
Well,
Frank Williams
okay,
isn't
so,
watching, but
moving to the next bit. So I just have some like sort of quick fire debate questions. So have a quick opinion on them.
Cool.
Try and save predictions because we'll do a few predictions at the end. So let's try and save the predictions to the end. So the first one is this the year that Red Bull compete strongly with Mercedes?
yes.
Yes.
Do we don't need to say much more, do we?
No, but like 50% of it is like I believe the hype is real. 50% of it is just me praying the hype is real.
And what I'll say is, I think they've got the best aerodynamic package, so yeah, it logically follows that they might challenge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, will Hamilton win his 8th title?
I mean, my heart says no, but my mind says yes. Because I mean, they just have so much. They have so much going for them at the moment. Obviously, they've got the best engine, and they've had the best car for years and years. For once, I just love him to be in like a really competitive team with like a really top driver next to him. But I think if they can get a grip of their reliability issues, I think he'll win his next title easy. So it really depends on that. They've had a really bad start to testing, so it depends how long they take to fix that, basically, and if they get on top of their reliability issues. I think they will,
definitely.
and I think he will win.
This question is the answer to this question is entirely dependent on the answer to the last question, because the rivalry with Hamilton isn't coming from within the team, so it's really on Red Bull to take the fight. Otherwise, I guess since Lewis has just been dominating for the last few seasons, you might as well start with Lewis as default champion. Now, can anybody unseat him? That's another question.
Yeah,
And
that's a big difference of a question, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
On Lewis, I guess. Great to see what he's doing with the sport, trying to talk about diversity. I think it's an important thing to mention. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like being like the only, like one of the few black people in the sport, especially from a young age, and really, really proud of Lewis as someone from his country and as a racing driver. Not one I particularly support most of the time, but I mean, over the past year, my support for Lewis has been immense. And I look forward to standing beside him as he tries to help change the mistreatment of people in society, and he speaks out on issues concerning equality and diversity in Formula One.
Exactly, yeah. I couldn't say that better myself, to be honest. Yeah. Well, I know there's been a bit of a talk about potential qualifying sprint races. What's your opinion on that, if they do potentially happen?
I think it's a load of like crap, to be honest. I think their best bet, right, and I think this is them trying to fix an issue where they could easily like come up with another solution themselves, which is the fans want to see more overtaking. They want to see better races. They want to see a more competitive grid. So logically, the way to do that for me is to change the regulations, and that's what they're aiming to do in 2022. I think this is just sort of an unnecessary gimmick that would go alongside it. The logic behind it is that if you do like sort of qualifying races or reverse races, it mixes up the grid. It makes the sort of lesser teams get put in advantageous positions. But honestly, just like make the teams more equal, make the cars able to overtake by changing the aerodynamics. I'd rather have all of that than, a new race to look forward to. But
like I'm pretty sure we spoke about this like at some point this season, me, Jeeshan, and Salman, because when the idea was first floated, I mean, it'll be interesting. Maybe they could do it a weekend or two, but at the end of the day, they're sticking plaster on a much bigger issue. Something like a salary cap or like a really strong salary cap on for drivers, but also a cap on how much teams can spend on development, etc. That would be much better, leveling the playing field, and it's a more sustainable way of doing so in the future. Because there's no point going to reverse grid races and going, okay, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, if you want to spend as much money as you want on a car, all they're doing is delaying the inevitable, 5, 6, 7 laps into a race. Because, I mean, the difference once like Mercedes just like turn up the wick is just like next level.
Yeah, I agree. Next question is, what will be the closest teammate battle?
I'm gonna go with one that AJ might not agree with, but I reckon it will be Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. I think Carlos Sainz is probably the most underrated driver on the grid. He was out qualifying Max Verstappen, which is something people forget. Their quali record, Carlos Sainz was always the quicker of them. I think in every single team that he's been in, so the 3 so far, McLaren, Renault, and Toro Rosso, you know, I think he's had the measure of his teammate, or at least been able to compete on the same level, you know. So I think Charles Leclerc is in for a surprise, because I rate him highly as well. I think it would be really great if Ferrari could get like a competitive car, because the battle between those two would be great to see. But I think it'll be very close in that team.
Yeah, Jeeshan, I think I agree with you actually. I really do like Carlos Sainz. I think it'll be a really interesting battle. I guess the other team I would say, maybe a team we haven't actually spoken about today, Alfa Romeo. Maybe Antonio Giovinazzi. I mean, Kimi Räikkönen's made it very clear that this is just like a Sunday drive for Kimi Räikkönen. Really, it's just like I feel like going for a drive today. Okay, I'll go do like 16 laps around a circuit or something. I mean, Giovinazzi's he's getting quicker. He's not a bad driver. He still needs time to develop. And I think maybe this year he can kind of take the step. It's always quite close between those two, but maybe this year he can challenge him.
Yeah. I mean, they're both. I'd go with Leclerc and Sainz personally, but yeah, no. The Alfa Romeo drivers are probably quite close as well, just at the opposite end of the table.
They won't be getting many points, so we're gonna have to be looking at like quali records and race records, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my final question is, will we finally see a title decider in Abu Dhabi? Because the last time this has actually happened between two drivers was 2016, and the last time it had happened between two drivers from different teams was 2012. So will it happen this year?
I think this may be the most realistic chance of it happening in a while, like especially from different teams, as you mentioned. It really depends on if Red Bull have like actually got their act together and it's not just sort of a facade this year. I think it'll be one of those championships where it gets decided with maybe 2 rounds to go or 3, where Mercedes might get pushed tight, but not tight enough. But I'd say why rule anything out? The season hasn't started yet. I won't be a pessimist, so I'll say maybe.
I say no only because I don't want the hype of going to Abu Dhabi with the title on the line and then being given another boring race, as seems to be the case every year when we go there. Yeah. Right? Like, I would so much rather the title just be decided at Interlagos and, we kind of just cut the last 2 races. Or,
they need to make Brazil the last race again, It used to be
I know.
for a while.
You know what they should do? They should just go... So it's this year, it's Brazil, but it's Australia. And then it's Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi. Just cut the last 2. We'll just finish with an Interlagos, Albert Park double header, right? It'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope look, every race weekend where there's multiple teams vying for victory and there's implications for the championship. That's what you want as a racing fan, right? I'm sick of Hamilton is has mathematically is yet to mathematically clinch the title, but he's got a DNF in 6 of the 7 races. It's come on. But 23 races, it's going to be a season of ups and downs, perhaps longest calendar ever. So I guess we'll
I hope
see.
so. Yeah.
I did miss out one question. So practice sessions are actually now half an hour shorter.
Really?
There's news about that being having a big impact on drivers and the cars in the lead up to a race weekend. Apparently, that's a third of that is a third of each practice session gone.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it'll make that big of a difference?
It should make a very big difference. I mean, I think a lot of people don't really understand just how much work goes on in like practice, like the race setup, the quali setup, testing everything out, getting used to the circuits again. I guess in a way I kind of like it because it kind of forces the drivers to rely on themselves a bit more. Sometimes you have practice sessions where they tweak everything with their engineers to try and get the perfect setup. This might force people to think on their feet a bit more, be pushed a bit. I think the best races are always the ones which are like in really changeable conditions, just because like the teams haven't experienced it before. So maybe the result of this change is that we get those types of races a lot more often, where the teams aren't really sure about what's best, and so you get more entertaining racing that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the unpredictability of it all. I know. As a virtual racing driver of F1 2020, I can say how important practices are because I'm out there putting 15, 20 laps in to catch up to the AI. So trust me, there's a lot of work that goes on in practice. I just hope that the teams don't, just because the teams see how like valuable that time has now become, that we still get to see lots of young drivers coming through and doing Friday sessions and whatnot, because I think that's really important for the development of young drivers. So I really hope they can kind of maintain that. But like Jeeshan said, anything that kind of takes the power and control away from the teams and like analysts and strategy and whatnot, and puts it just like down to the raw instincts of the driver, right? That's something that we've got to champion in the sport, because that's what people want to see. They want to see the best drivers putting out the best performances, and someone winning just because they're such a good driver, not because of the package that they've got with the team. So yeah, I mean that's the best bit about when it becomes kind of wet to dry in a race, or finding those new lines, which drivers like fantastic in changing conditions. I mean, that's what we want to see. So anything that bolsters unpredictability, I think at the moment I'm all for it until someone challenges Mercedes and kicks them off the top of the pedestal.
Yeah.
Hear
I mean, it
what
would
he
be
said.
great. It would be great to have a different winner every year, wouldn't it? That's when you know.
Just stop Hamilton. Like once the hybrid era started, like Hamilton wins. All right, Hamilton, you've got to retire now.
No, but you get what I mean. Like if there's multiple teams challenging every race every year, then Formula One's going to be better off for it, I'd say.
Those seasons when Ferrari had a genuinely competitive package just threw it away because of bad strategy, right? Sure, the result wasn't fantastic in the end, but there was belief that Ferrari could go win the title, right? The whole team just wasn't able to pull it off. So if there are 2-3 teams challenging, that's fantastic. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see, Lewis said, who am I racing? You're racing Valtteri, is 15 seconds behind you. You want 2-3 people on different strategies, right, with the pace to beat the top boys. So yeah.
I mean, I think most
Really
people would say the best era of F1 was probably in the 80s and 90s, and maybe early 2000s as well, just because you had Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, even Lotus at times, all sort of competing each year. So there was a lot of different winners every year and a lot more competition. That's what you want from Formula One at the end of the day. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So to finish off, let's get some predictions. So I have 4 different predictions. So the first one being, who's a dark horse to win a race? Just one particular, any particular race over the season, a dark horse.
Alonso. I think he's got the ability to do it.
Yeah,
I think he's a dark horse just because, you'd expect Mercedes, Red Bull to be like the sort of...
Right, that's my line of thinking, because in that instance, I'm thinking Carlos Sainz,
That's a good one as well.
Carlos Sainz is a dark horse. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't got that race victory
yet. He's a dark horse, though.
Well, that's the thing. What Ferrari are we going to get? Isn't that's the thing, right? If the top three, if McLaren are now a top three team, right? Then I think that's fair enough to make Ferrari a dark horse because they're outside the top three. You're looking at 6 drivers with a potentially better car than that person. So, in my eyes, that would make him a dark horse. So, yeah, I say Carlos Sainz.
Well, I'm
if you want to go
your boy,
really,
AJ.
Gasly again.
Yeah, Gasly. Yeah,
Gasly again. I felt it was a bit unfair. You know, the guy wins. The guy's already won a race. And pick someone who hasn't.
I know, but that race did have. You know, there were a lot of extremes in that race where.
Right, that's the thing. That's the thing.
But I reckon he could do it. Yeah, he could do it maybe without so many retirements and have just one outstanding race compared to the rest.
Yeah.
If you want to go really
that's the thing.
Left field, I would say
if you want
to go with someone, if you want to go out there, I would say Lance Stroll might be a good one. You know, just because if he's in a quick package, I think he could do it. But I think Alonso's the sort of the easy, safe pick for a dark horse. I think Lance Stroll could be up there as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Lance Stroll's like the darkest of the midfield teams when we think of dark horses. Like,
yeah, well, talking about dark horses, who's a dark horse to be up there over the season in terms of points?
I mean, okay. Let's clarify now. Ferrari, are they a midfield team eligible for dark horse status or not? Jeeshan, what do you think?
I'll say no. They're Ferrari, right? You can't. There's no situation where Ferrari can really be a dark horse, right? If I were to say a dark horse for points, I'd say it depends on how good this Ferrari engine is. Like that's being rumored, right? Because I'd say the Haas and Alfa Romeo could be dark horses if the engine is actually really good. Like, we don't know if Ferrari were, like, going on, like, really sort of low fuel runs. But, like, there were rumours they were getting, like, Kimi to, like, boost his engine up in the Alfa Romeo during testing, right? And he was putting in good, like, sort of, like, speeds. I'd say maybe one of the sort of the Haas or the Alfa.
How many points are we talking here? Where would this person be predicted to finish, Arch?
You know, maybe someone who, outside of Mercedes and Red Bull, in the top 5 to 8.
So similar to kind of like Gasly level last year.
Yeah.
I guess I would say Ocon maybe. I'll buy into the hype of the Alpine. And I'll trust. I think Fernando winning a race might make him a dark horse, but I think you're going to get reliable results with Fernando regardless. That wouldn't surprise me. So it'll be really good to see if Ocon you can string like back-to-back weekends of good performances throughout the season. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say Ocon as well. To be honest, I think he can be consistent if. He gets it right. He has confidence. I mean, we know the Alpine car can be quick. So we'll see. We'll see on that one.
What about Perez? What do you guys think about that?
I mean, you can't call him a dark horse, can you? Because he's sat in a Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I think a lot of people expect Max to be the quicker. I just don't know. I think Perez could surprise some people, but. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, actually, that's the thing, right? So last year, despite Valtteri not being good enough, he still beat Max. So let's presume that this year, Max can beat Valtteri. Can Perez beat Valtteri? I think if Max is good enough to beat Valtteri, I think so is Perez.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I think Perez will be quite close to Max in terms of speed. Obviously, Max is just a bit better. But he'll be close, if not there or thereabouts. So,
but I don't. Who the Mercedes might be quick like years gone by, but they still might not be able to overtake in traffic like years gone by.
Yeah.
So those beautiful Perez opening stint strategies are going to come to play when he's doing like 15 laps longer than anybody else and churning a personal best. So that's his way. His way to winning a race would definitely be different to what you'd expect Max's to be, I reckon.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with the top three constructors first. And like third, second, first.
I know I've spoken ill of Valtteri today, and I'm going to again. Red Bull are going to be top constructor.
Wow.
Mercedes will be second. Not because Lewis can't win the championship, I still think he will. But yeah, I'm just really not feeling Valtteri at the moment. George Russell needs to be given that seat ASAP. And third, McLaren. I'm really excited to see what they do.
Okay. I'm going to go a bit different. I'm going to say I think Max can challenge for the driver's title. I think if Mercedes get on top of their gremlins, it should be Mercedes first, Red Bull second, and I'll go Alpine third, just because I want them to be third.
I'm going for the same as Ajay's, I think.
Wow, okay.
I'll give you my prediction. I'll give you my prediction for the top three drivers in a minute, but yeah, top three drivers.
Ooh. Ooh.
I don't want to say it, but it has to be Lewis. It's almost like, who do you reckon's going to win the league? And you just resign yourself to Man City.
Yeah.
So
I think...
Lewis, Max, and Sergio. I'm really hoping it's Sergio. Bottas has done nothing wrong to me. I just hate him.
I think I'm gonna say that Max will outperform his car. And I think it'll be Max, Lewis, Bottas in the championship, you know?
Oh, I'm going slightly different to both of you now.
Yeah.
So I'm going.
You're not putting
Max,
a McLaren up there, are you?
No, I'm going Max, Lewis, then Checo.
Nice.
Right. Yeah, no, but that's the thing. But like, Jeeshan, you're one, right? If Max is winning the world title, come on, surely Checo is beating Bottas. If Max is winning the world title.
I mean, it depends on, like, Red Bull haven't had too much success with their second drivers in the past, which is why I'm a bit hesitant, you know. It's like people thought highly of Gasly and, even Albon at one point. Obviously, we know about what Mark Webber went through and even Ricciardo. I don't know, Max to me, it's just I watch him, and even though I hate him as a person, or I find him at least a bit arrogant, he just seems like a real racer to me. He just seems like a proper racer, you know, and it's just, I think he can maybe be a bit like Alonso in his prime and like extract more out of the car than is there, which is why I think Max could win the world championship, but I don't think they'll win the constructors.
I think you have valid concerns over the second driver, but at the same time, you know, Perez is Gasly or Albon at the start of their careers, you know, just being elevated to a big team. Perez has been around a long enough time now, right? And also Perez's driving style is much different. He's much, he's accustomed to kind of going long on like particular stints and whatnot, you know, and making a kind of a 3-stop, 2-stop, or a 2-stop or 1-stop. So that kind of like desire or like just kind of driving ability that leads to different type of strategy might actually work out in his favor because, when two drivers do the same strategy at Red Bull, Max is getting all the calls, let's be honest, right? It's just like Ferrari with like Vettel and Raikkonen or something. So if Perez is already on a different strategy just because of, you know, his driving style and that's the way he likes it, maybe there aren't as many instances in which, you know, there's clear favoritism towards Max.
Well, there we go. We all have varying opinions and predictions. We will see how good that Mercedes car is on this weekend. Whether the testing was just a bit of a show, a hiding of the actual car. We'll see. Any other thoughts? Final thoughts?
It's shaping to be a good season. Let's hope that the paddock is a safe working environment for the teams and the drivers. We don't have a repeat of Albert Park last year, you know. where they cancelled it on the weekend. Just looking to like good racing, a healthy battle between the top teams, and hopefully we have a new world champion, someone who hasn't been crowned champion before.
Fingers crossed.
Well, go on, Jeeshan.
I was just gonna say, so I might be lagging a bit, but I'm glad like the opening race is in Bahrain, just because Bahrain's normally a very good circuit for overtaking, and it's been a decent race. So yeah.
But you don't miss Albert Park starting it for us.
I like Albert Park, but I also like not having to wake up at like 6 a.m. at the start of the season. So, I mean, they've got their perks, they've got their upsides and downsides both races. But yeah.
Well, that was the F1 chat. We'll see how the season goes. Make sure you guys follow the Instagram. I'll leave it in the description of this podcast. I'm on YouTube now as well. There'll be short clips, so check those out. And one final thing that I need to say is lights out and away we go.